Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next The Promised Neverland manga review. This one's going to be for chapter 176, which is called We're Home. So it's been a month since the last chapter, a whole 4 weeks that we didn't get a chapter. We knew this was happening when we got the last chapter. It did say that it was going to be 4 weeks until the next one. So this is definitely one of the longest breaks I think we've ever kind of seen. Again, especially since I've been doing the chapters, and just in general with manga, like, you don't really experience many times of a series being off for a full month. There's times when it's maybe like 2 weeks in a row it's off because of a sequence of holidays and stuff like that, but this was sort of a kind of pretty, crazy example. It's been a tough wait because we're at a sort of a very interesting point in the story. We're getting towards the end. We're building up to a lot of the, I suppose, mysteries that we're waiting to be resolved and seeing how the series concludes. But it seems like we are now back. There is going to be a chapter next week, and we have this one, of course, right now. So the question obviously is, was it worth the wait? And I think in general it was. I think this was a good way to come back with, for the most part, a very nice chapter, just addressing sort of we've basically accomplished almost everything that we need to do. It's just this sense of, okay, like, let's take a moment to reflect on how we got here, where we came from, and then that sort of move towards, and we're going to the human world. And then boom, something incredibly tragic happens that took me by surprise, definitely, but I can definitely see what they were going for here. And I think it's an interesting move at the end of this chapter to do what they did with Isabella. But yeah, I think a lot of this is best discussed as we go through it. But in general, no, I really did enjoy this chapter. So first of all, I want to make a note quickly about the kind of color page this time out. Mujika and Emma on the cover with loads and loads of birds who have just been sort of set free from their cage. Very symbolic of, those two representing the sort of idealism on both species, basically demons and humans, and then the symbolism of the kind of open cage, the birds flying free. Really works very well. Really beautiful page for the color. I wonder, will that potentially be a volume cover? I think it really does work well. But yeah, let's get into the pages itself. So we open up with basically a recap of the last few pages from the last chapter, which is just Phil spotting Emma, Emma spotting Phil, and just a really emotional moment of these two finally reuniting. I'm home, Phil. Emma, welcome home. Sorry to make you wait so long. No, not at all. So just very nice stuff here. I always believed you would come back for us. We then see Gilda and a bunch of the others come over. Then he goes over to hug Dawn. I'm glad you look so well, you too. And then, really big moment here. Phil spots Norman. And initially I was kind of like, wow, why are they focusing on this? But then I forgot that, like, oh, this is him discovering for the first time that Norman is actually alive. That it's so ingrained into us as fans that, he's been back for a good while now and so much has happened with him. But for Phil, this is the discovery that Norman is actually alive. He's had no contact with the group until just now to find this out. So, that's why this is actually such a heavy moment for Phil here to discover this, and it's a nice moment. Thank you for protecting our siblings. And we get some inner dialogue from Phil here, just addressing what he's been through. Norman, but there were also friends I couldn't protect. I wanted to protect them too, so badly, but I and we get this sort of thoughts trailing off as Ray comes over and just says, Phil, it must have been tough, sorry and thanks. Everything's gonna be okay now, as Ray hugs Phil, and then everyone joins in. Big group hug page, nearly takes up a full page. It's a really nice moment here of just the Phil train continues. We've been waiting for him for a while, and they really delivered on this, happy, beautiful, nice reunion of everyone with Phil. And it is funny to a degree because, of course, I think it's definitely the fandom that's really kind of, got behind Phil as being this super important character. And he is, of course, to a degree, but the fandom have definitely, like, made, like, when Phil appears in the story, it's going to be amazing, much more than I suppose the writers maybe ever thought it would be. So, I guess devoting the first 5-6 pages of this chapter entirely to like Phil reunion speaks to like we're going to deliver on what the fans want. They want Phil. They want Phil happy with the rest of the group. They're going to get Phil happy with the rest of the group. So it was really nice to get this. But yeah, then we get some of the other kids, of course, noticing this, and they're like, wait, what's going on? And then Emma calls over to Sherry, and then Sherry kind of freaks out. She goes over. She's happy to see everyone again, especially Norman. And then the mom, who's kind of in charge of this group, this is why I suppose Phil and everyone else was separate from Isabella and the others. This mom is like, what's going on? Why are you here, Grandma Isabella? And then the others are like, whoa, Grandma, like Mom Isabella, you're here. So it's this kind of reunion on multiple fronts here of like, clearly this group of the younger kids hasn't seen Isabella in a while, and of course Norman's survival is a big thing for them. But Isabella comes over and just says, we're all free now. All the farms are being abolished. It's over. It's over now. We can never erase what we have done, but now we can just love them. Just love them normally. And I like this moment too, because they touched on this a bunch of chapters ago, but I like it being brought up again of just this mom, upon hearing this, breaks down in tears into Isabella's arms, because she's ultimately so happy to hear this and find out that the farms are over. She doesn't have to do this job anymore, that she has survived and now doesn't have to do this terrible thing of basically leading other kids to not survive. That's of course the tragedy of the moms, of like them being given a choice, but what sort of a choice is it? Die or survive and assist in the deaths of others? And that's the whole thing with all of them, of like, can you really blame them for choosing to survive? But there's also definitely that sense of they need to redeem themselves and be better going forward now, even if you can't particularly blame them that much for what ended up happening, because they're all victims of circumstance here. That was the whole point of some of the last couple of chapters, of just highlighting the kids, the cattle children, the moms as well, and even Peter Ratcher to a degree are all just kind of victims of this scenario, just from different positions. But anyway, nice emotional moment there with Isabella and one of the moms. And then we get one of the demons basically making the announcement. It's the Queen's orders, secure all of the staff. So all of the demon staff of the farms are being arrested here. And we just get a reaction shot here as we sort of montage through it. The farms are being abolished. Why? You're arresting us. Like, they're just kind of shocked to hear that this is happening, and they're like, do we resist? Are we willing to go against the Grand Duke Luvis, against the royal family and the Grand Duke? And we get the idea that, I think most of them submit to being captured, but the idea is that there is a frustration here. So not everyone is going to go ahead with this. That it is some people are fine with this, others aren't. That it seemed like most of the demon population has been okay with some of the big decisions made by Luvis and Mujika, but not everyone is going to agree, and that's what's going to happen right at the end. That's what will interrupt the overall very happy, very successful actions of the last bunch of chapters. But then we cut to Emma, and she's in a reflective mood at this point. The farms are ending. Not just Grace Field, but Glory Bell, Grand Valley, Goodwill Ridge, and all the other farms. It was just montage through the idea of, I suppose, just the reaction of all of these places to finding out about what's happening here. Everyone, the moms being told that they don't need to do this anymore. The kids kind of not really knowing, kind of in a way, I suppose, what freedom actually means. And then I suppose the more tragic aspect of like some of the more Lambda-esque, the mass production farms being shut down is a more tragic thing, because what sort of a life is there for some of those kids the way they were grown, basically. But yeah, we then have Emma reflecting on, I suppose, the moments leading up to before they left, of like they highlight the gate out into the world. That day I knew it was an idealistic goal, but I also knew that I couldn't give up no matter how crazy it seemed. And the flashback dialogue is, I can't leave them, I don't want any more of my family to die. Let's change the world. So this is basically the trio from the first arc basically deciding we have to break out. We have to get out of here and change things. And that's very impactful to reflect on that. The decision, the brave decision to actually try to escape and get past their otherwise, tragic fate to just die and escape, versus where they are now, back where they escaped from, but having accomplished everything has gone very well. I was scared, full of anxiety. I felt discouraged so many times, but thanks to my friends, we were able to come this far. And this is the big reflection moment. Double page spread here. Along the outsides, we have the big reaction shot of all the characters sort of in the present, basically just reacting to they've accomplished what they needed to. Everything's okay. They've dealt with all the threats, and now they can go into the human world and have that hope for the future. And then along the middle of this panel, we have a big montage of a lot of flashback shots, just highlighting a lot of the characters, a lot of the kids, the different characters we met along the way, and basically the characters who've been essential to getting us to this point. And that Emma's whole thing has been about, bringing everyone around her, whether it be the kids they escaped with in the first place, the people she met at Goldie Pond, and as we've went on, even kind of Norman's kind of friends from the Lambda and so on. They emphasize all of these characters, Aishi as well, and so on. All just everyone is here. It's a nice kind of reflective panel. That's the mood that we're in right now. But then as we cut to the next page, we have this really interesting shot of Emma looking on, and behind her, I suppose beside her on the other side, are all of the people they've sort of like lost along the way. So some of the kids, of course, we have Lucas, and I suppose most notably here in Hugo is here as well. Very, very kind of sad moment here, but it highlights, I suppose, the contrast between, the previous page highlighting all the characters who have survived and the relatively small amount of characters that we have lost along the way. It's unfortunate, of course, but it speaks, ultimately Emma's idealism has paid off. It hasn't been perfect. She hasn't been able to save everyone, but what she has accomplished is very, very impressive. And it's very interesting to really highlight this, given what's just about to happen. So then we have Phil talking to Emma. So we can go now to the human world. Yeah, we can. All children from all of the farms, both the children and the adults, everyone finally at last to the human world. And it seems like, yes, like next chapter we're going to go to the human world if we ended right there. But then immediately, next panel, a demon appears behind a bunch of the kids, and he's looking threatening. I really like the way they showcase his face here. He's emitting this like aura, basically, that he means trouble here. He's one of these, workers at the farms who is not going to go down easily. So the kids run away. Emma realizes that she's kind of dropped her gun. She's let her guard down, given all the emotion of everything that's happening. And he just says, "This is my farm, my meat. I won't let anyone take them away. I'll eat them all here now. I'll eat them all here and now." As he moves in to attack some of the kids, we see Emma, Gilda, and others kind of rush into action. Ray is the one who has his gun actually sort of ready, and he just hopes that he can make it in time. Emma rushes in, grabs one of the kids to kind of get in front of her. Ray fires off 2 shots but doesn't hit. It seems like the demon is going to stab Emma, but Isabella appears in front of it and takes the hit for Emma. And this is a huge moment here of this really, really tragic panel of, it's absolutely, there's no way this is not a fatal blow here. All 3 of this demon's giant claws, like sword-like claws, are straight through Isabella's chest. We'll get some last words, I assume, in the next chapter, but I don't think there's any saving her. And I think plot-wise, I don't think there's much meaning towards saving her after injuring her this badly. I think this is what they're going for here. The completion of her redemption is her sacrificing herself to save the other kids. This is, to a degree, even though, we're meant to have sympathy for the moms, this is meant to be, her, her helping the kids, her sacrificing her life for them to allow them to go on and accomplish everything that she wished she could have accomplished if she hadn't taken the exact path and choices that maybe she had made. But it's a very, very tragic, the mood swing in this episode, from this chapter, from everything's happy, Phil, little bit of, kind of a somber note of just reflecting on a lot of the characters who have died, but look at all the people who are still here. We've accomplished everything, we're going to the human world, great, we're all happy to see what's next. And then out of nowhere, just this random demon who hasn't been rounded up yet attacks, and Isabella has to get in the way and is, I assume, going to die from here. And we just end, of course, with the, Emma looking at this, seeing what's just happened and just saying, Mom. So we'll see what happens here. I think what they're going to have to do here is, this is your opportunity now to do Ray and Isabella. They really have not emphasized that dynamic at all, really, since, Isabella's returned into the story. Now is your time to really deliver on your last opportunity to do that. And I think they have to, because otherwise you're borderline making Emma have a more important relationship with Isabella than Ray, which I get to a degree is valid, because Isabella and Emma are meant to sort of be similar type of characters, but one made the choice to become the mom and one refused the choice and did this other crazy thing and basically, changed her fate, basically. And that's meant to be the sort of dynamic between the two of them here. So I can see, this is why these two are the most significant ones for Isabella. So yeah, my prediction for what's going to happen in the next chapter is that there's enough people surrounding this demon that he is going to be captured or killed, I'd say almost immediately at the start of the next chapter. I think his threat is going to be done in the aftermath of this, and it will leave the rest of that chapter to linger on Isabella's final moments and what she has to say about the future, basically. That she was like, she didn't think she deserved the opportunity to go with them and go to the human world, but things worked out in a way where it felt like, oh, I don't deserve it, but I am going to go along with this. And it's unfortunately not going to work out that way. So what are her final emotional words to Emma, to Ray, to the others, to the moms, I suppose, as well? This is going to be a big one to see, I suppose, the end of this very, very interesting and complicated character. I definitely appreciate this decision. I just hope they commit to it. I hope this is actually, they're killing her off. Like I said, I think the reason why I don't have too much hope in terms of like they're going to find a way to save her, she'll survive, is just because I don't know why you would do this unless you are killing her off. Like, what value really is there to, we find this a way to save you from these injuries, and what does that do that we already kind of haven't done thematically already? The idea here is that her sacrificing her life is the very, very symbolic thing. But we'll see exactly how they go about doing it in the next chapter, which thankfully is next week. No more breaks, it seems like, at least for the next little bit, which is very good. Still hard to predict exactly how many chapters we do or do not have left. I think killing off Isabella feels like a towards the end of the series style thing, so my impression would be that, again, we probably don't have that many chapters left. I think it probably is within the next 6 months or so we probably will be wrapping up the series, because I can't see it just being extended on too much unless they really, really do have a big human world arc. But I think just the fact that the promise and what the one can do is still up in the air. I'm not really sure how much of a focus, that is or is not going to get. But There's plot points still left to resolve, but in general, I thought this delivered a very good, character-focused chapter. With the Phil stuff, the very nice Phil stuff at the start. I thought the really good moment with Isabella and that mom. The reflection on everything, both the friends still here as well as friends lost. And then the sudden shift into just the demon you least expected to do anything. One of the random ones at the farm ends up being the one to kill one of our main characters. It's very, very, tragic. It's meant to be that sense of like Emma at her most idealistic, and then something terrible happens, just showing that like, this is a very real thing, and it's a I think a kind of brave decision in a way, but I definitely appreciate from the writers. So in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this chapter, chapter 176. But that has been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.